The Vancouver Canucks get one of the biggest steals in the NHL 2024 draft. We're going to break down this prospect, and we're also going to get in that the Vancouver Canucks might miss out on their top Zadorov prospect later on this episode. But before I start, I just want to give a shout out to the 2,959 of you guys that are subscribed. We're so close to 3,000. If we can reach this by the end of the draft, that would be incredible. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to go down and hit the subscribe button. We're going to be here all off season into next season, covering everything to do with the Canucks, from rumors, prospect breakdowns, trades, anything you can think of. So make sure to go down, hit the subscribe button as we're trying to reach 3,000. But with that, let's hop straight into the first topic today, which is the Canucks draft Melvin Fernström. Now, Melvin Fernström does come out of the Swedish Hockey League, and we do see that the Canucks take him in the 2024 draft with their first selection in the third round. Now, we do see Fernström as a player played primarily in the system of Hobro HK. Hobro HK, if you've been following the channel at all, you've known this name. This is the team that DPD played with him on the U20. We've seen Hobro HK where he played in the Tier 1 team for 6 games with none other than top prospect Jonathan Lekkerimäki. We see Fernström is a right wing, 6 foot, 187 pounds. He does need to work on his skating. He does need to work on his physicality. But this guy is having the offensive tools to become a great player within the Canucks organization. And Griffin, just what's your thoughts and your initial thoughts on them taking Fernström?
I love it. If you remember in our draft video a few weeks ago where we talked about some mid-round and third round, sixth round steals that the Canucks could get, Fernström was definitely one of the players on that list, and that was someone that by the end of the video I said I would be very happy if the Canucks took him. I'm very happy that they did. Does have to work on his skating. There was clips I was watching with him where he was getting to the offensive zone, and I thought he was a defenseman almost at first because of how late he was getting to the play. But he's got a wicked one-timer. He's got a great slap shot. He can make plays happen. He has a great plus-minus rating where he was making opportunities happen when he wasn't scoring a boatload of goals and getting a ton of assists. He had a great point total, averaging over a point a game with Obro. And I think it's great that Vancouver continues to farm from the Swedish Hockey League. We know we have a Swedish GM. We have a history of Swedish players with this team going so far back, even before the 2000s. So it is nice to see them continue this streak where they're farming Swedish talent and developing them with the AHL team, or just throwing them right into the NHL right off the bat. I think he's going to be someone that is going to develop really nicely with their AHL team and eventually make the jump to the NHL. We have said that he does have to work on his defensive play as well. He could be a little bit more physical. He is 6 foot and 180 pounds, so he does have a bit of size to him. So I think if they can utilize that speed as a winger, I think, or that size as a winger, I think he'll be a great asset to this team, especially when you have a guy like Dakota Joshua who is a wrecking ball himself. So if there's a time where those guys are on the same line or one of them are on different lines, I think there's going to be a new physical identity for Vancouver forming.
Yeah, and the big thing is, obviously, he does need some work on his game as a whole with just the skating and the physicality. But he is just 17 and a half years old. He has so much time to develop. At 17, already being 6 foot, almost 190 pounds. This guy's going to develop. It's hard to teach someone to have the scoring just instincts that a lot of these players have. So that is a huge part for the Canucks. Obviously, you can go down and look on the rankings on the bottom. And a lot of the top rankers in Bob McKenzie, Craig Button, these guys had him going so much higher in this draft, and the Vancouver Canucks get him in the third round. He's ranked in the 20s in the top European prospects going into the draft. So just bringing in elite talent like this after Allvin obviously had to move up picks to move on from contracts to trade for players. They're looking at these players and they're microscoping just who they need to get in this draft. It's kind of funny that Obro seems like the second just AHL team for them at this rate. And we do see that Fernström reads the plays away from the puck, anticipates where the next pass will come. He gets there as the puck carrying teammates turn to execute the play. His shot may not be the most powerful, but he gets it off on the right positions and angles to score. And Griffin, just what's your thoughts on adding another sniper to this team where they're also still looking for that right wing replacement on the top 6 as well?
I think it's nice to have a sniper sharpshooter. I think they definitely need him. Where there was opportunities that Vancouver had where if they had had a bit better of deep shots, they might have been able to score more instead of trying to just squeeze one in up close. when Stuart Skinner was playing lights out in close, and especially when our goalie was doing the same. So, especially when that seems to be a weakness for a lot of teams, which is shots through traffic. And if Fernström can make more opportunities like that happen, whether he's setting guys up or taking the shots himself, I think that's going to be something that Vancouver is going to love in the future. Again, we're going to see how he develops with the AHL team and not make that jump right away. He's only 17, so we still have a little bit of time before we see him in the show. But I think once he finally gets there, he's going to be a big asset as far as the shooting aspect. And by then, if he has his skating and his physicality bumped up by that, I think he'll be a great all-around player.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is we're seeing obviously Jonathan Lekermacki coming over to North America. He'll be playing on Abbotsford or on the big club with the Vancouver Canucks this next coming season. So it seems like Abro's finding their Lekermacki replacement within their system to promote to their Tier 1 team of Abro HK. And obviously just looking through all what he's done this season, we can see that he scored 63 points with Abro's Junior 20 team in the obviously Swedish Hockey League. He played 6 games during the regular season for Abro, going into 3 playoff games as well. The biggest thing is 31 goals in a Swedish league where there's top competition is a great feat. And Griffin, I'm just kind of throwing it out there. Could you see him and Jonathan Lekermacki almost being the future wingers for the Vancouver Canucks?
That's a lovely thought. I would love to see it. I think they're two guys that make opportunities happen both on even strength and on the power play, and that's something that Vancouver desperately needs. And they need more shots at the net. There was a comment in the last video where they were saying how they need to get more shots going, how their shot total was so low last season. I totally agree where if they get more opportunities and more pucks thrown at the net, they're going to eventually score more. It's not going to limit their opportunities in any way. It's not going to hurt them if they're throwing the puck at the net more. You don't want to be staying on an island or just holding on to the puck. So I think if you have a guy like Lekermacki who can make things happen on the power play, if you have a guy like Fernström who can just make things happen in general with over a point a game average, with the Swedish league and with a great plus minus rating, I think those are going to be two wingers that would be a great future line to see in Vancouver.
Yeah, exactly. And it seems like this management team really likes the Swedish players. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see more Swedish players drafted within this draft in 2024. But what's your guys' thoughts on picking up Fernström? What's your thoughts on his development? What do you think he'll do in the future? Let us know down in the comments. But with that, let's hop straight into the second topic, which is Canucks miss out on the Zadorov replacement. So we do get a retweet from Rick Dolly, and he says, for those asking about Brendan Dillon, lots of teams, including the Canucks, have interest in Dillon, but unless something changes, as of right now, doesn't sound like he'll be signing in Vancouver. Obviously, we got the reports yesterday that Zadorov will not be returning to the Canucks, or not as of right now, as he's going to test free agency on July 1st. And this is a big gaping hole on this Canucks roster. Obviously, you have the top 4 filled out. I've said it before, losing Zadorov sucks, but we have our top 4. Carson Soucy was incredible during the Canucks season. Even after he broke his hand, he came back looking great. So getting Zadorov back at 5, 6, whatever million he asked for would be a huge payment on that third pairing. But losing out on a possible replacement with Brendan Dillon is going to be a little hard for the Canucks to really find that shutdown guy to play on the third line. And Griffin, I know you've been looking into it quite a bit. Who do you want to see as that replacement now that Brendan Dillon seems to be off the board?
I think Mike Riley is one that I covered in yesterday's video or the other video a few days ago. But I think he's someone who is very sneaky where he doesn't have a big cap hit. He comes at a low price tag, and he's someone who can make things happen. He kind of seems like a smaller version of Tyler Myers in a sense where he's a bit lankier. He's not going to be as physical. But if he's on a line with Juleson, I think those guys will pair very nicely with each other. And another one out there, he's going to come at a bit heavier of a price tag, but Joel Edmondson, if for nothing else, it's for his veteran experience and for what he can do for the development of Quinn Hughes. We know that Quinn Hughes is the center of this team. He's what makes this team go, and Vancouver is committed to building around him and surrounding him with the best players possible. And if he has a guy like Joel Edmondson or even Alec Martinez, who is in his ear where he's saying, hey, here's how we can do things this way, or if he's just mentoring him, it would be great to see Quinn Hughes have that older player with him to kind of mentor him through that, where Quinn Hughes could be, we already know that he's the best defenseman in the league, but he could be one of the best skaters in the league, period, with a veteran presence in that defensive core.
Yeah, and there's so many names going around. The biggest thing is Allvin obviously understands that this needs to be filled. It's the lefty on the third pairing, and a second line right winger. These are going to be the two quickest things the Canucks do going into free agency, and I'm almost willing to say within the first hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, we're going to see rumors flying around on who those players will be. Obviously, it's sad we're going to lose on Zadorov, but this Canucks team is looking better and better each day. And what's your thoughts on losing out on Brendan Dillon? What's your thoughts on the Canucks pick in the third round for their first pick of the draft? Let us know down in the comments. And speaking on comments, we'll hop into everyone's favorite topic, which is comment of the day. Comment today comes from Callum McKenzie. He says, Ian Cole's the Canucks unsung hero, the goalie whisperer. And this is actually funny that we're getting rumors that Ian Cole may be coming back to the Canucks, so make sure to keep an eye on the next episode coming out, as we will be covering that and more prospects. And if you want to leave a comment on anything we talked about today, you could be featured on the next episode like Callum did today, so make sure to go down and leave a comment. While you're down there, share this with friends, leave a like, subscribe. We're trying to reach 3,000 before the end of the draft, which is only a few hours away. I know you guys can do it, so make sure not to prove me wrong. But with that, I've been your host, Mark Pye, with my co-host Griffin. Take care.